The Wolf of Wall Street is a 2013 American epic biographical black comedy crime film co-produced and directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Terrence Winter, and based on Jordan Belfort's 2007 memoir. It recounts Belfort's career as a stockbroker in New York City and how his firm, Stratton Oakmont, engaged in rampant corruption and fraud on Wall Street, leading to his downfall. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Belfort, Jonah Hill as his business partner and friend Donnie Ossoff, Margot Robbie as his second wife, Naomi LaPaglia, Matthew McConaughey as his mentor and former boss Mark Hanna, and Kyle Chandler as FBI Special Agent Patrick Denham portraying Gregory Coleman. It is DiCaprio's fifth collaboration with Scorsese. DiCaprio and Warner Brothers acquired the rights to Belfort's memoir in 2007, but production was halted due to content restrictions. It was later produced by the independent Granite Pictures. The film was shot in New York in late 2012, using mostly 35mm film stock. The film premiered in New York City on December 17, 2013, and was released in the United States on December 25, by Paramount Pictures. It was the first major American film to be released exclusively through digital distribution. For it was a major commercial success, grossing $407 million worldwide during its theatrical run, becoming Scorsese's highest-grossing film. However, the film initially received considerable controversy for its moral ambiguity and lack of sympathy for victims, as well as its explicit, graphic sexual content, extreme profanity, with at least 500 uses of the expletive fuck, depiction of hard drug use, and use of animals during production. The film was initially rated NC-17 by the Motion Picture Association, but it was shortly appealed for an R rating after Scorsese made slight changes to the film. It set a Guinness World Record for the most instances of profanity in a film. The film's financing became implicated in the One Malaysia Development Berhad corruption scandal. The U.S. Department of Justice and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission investigated Granite Pictures, and producer Riza Aziz was arrested in 2019. He was discharged in May 2020 on a 1 million Malaysian ringgit, $240,000 US, bail. 6. The film received positive reviews from critics and appeared on several Best of the Year lists. It was nominated for several awards, including 5 at the 86th Academy Awards ceremony: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor, for DiCaprio, and Best Supporting Actor, for Hill. DiCaprio won Best Actor, Musical or Comedy at the 71st Golden Globe Awards, where the film was also nominated for Best Picture, Musical or Comedy. Plot. In 1987, 25-year-old Jordan Belfort lands a job as a Wall Street stockbroker for L.F. Rothschild, employed under Mark Hanna. He is quickly enticed by the drug-fueled stockbroker culture and Hanna's belief that a broker's only goal is to make money for himself. Jordan loses his job following Black Monday, the largest one-day stock market drop in history after the Wall Street crash of 1929, and takes a job at Investors Center, a boiler room brokerage firm on Long Island that specializes in pink sheet penny stocks. He makes a small fortune thanks to his aggressive pitching style and high commissions. Jordan befriends his neighbor Donnie Ossoff, and the two start their own boiler room-styled brokerage company. They recruit Jordan's childhood friends Robbie Feinberg, Alden Kupferberg, Nikki Koskoff, Chester Ming, and Toby Welch, as well as local drug pusher Brad Bonnick, all of whom Jordan trains in the art of the hard sell, and set up the company in an abandoned auto repair shop. Jordan's tactics and salesmanship largely contribute to the success of his pump and dump scheme, in which misleading, positive statements inflate a stock's price so it can be sold at an artificially high price. When the scheme's perpetrators sell their overvalued securities, the price plummets, and those who were conned into buying at the inflated price are left with stock that is suddenly worth much less than they paid for it. To cloak this, Jordan gives the firm the respectable-sounding name of Stratton Oakmont in 1989. Soon after, the company becomes immensely successful, moving out of the auto repair shop into a bigger office. An exposé in Forbes which dubs Jordan the Wolf of Wall Street, a sort of twisted Robin Hood who takes from the rich and gives to himself and his merry band of brokers, initially enrages Balfour until it causes hundreds of ambitious young financiers to flock to the company, thus causing them to move into even bigger offices. As all this is happening, Jordan becomes immensely successful, and slides into a decadent lifestyle of prostitutes and drugs. He has an affair with lingerie designer Naomi LaPaglia. When his wife Teresa finds out about this, Jordan divorces her and marries Naomi in 1991. Meanwhile, the SEC and the FBI begin investigating Stratton Oakmont. In 1993, Jordan illegally makes $22 million in 3 hours after securing the IPO of Steve Madden Limited, founded by Donnie's childhood friend and women's shoes designer Steve Madden, bringing him and his firm further FBI attention. Jordan tries to bribe Agent Denham but fails, prompting him to seek a safe place for the money. He opens a Swiss bank account with corrupt banker Jean-Jacques Sorel in the name of Naomi's Aunt Emma, a British citizen who is outside the immediate reach of American authorities. He uses Brad's Swiss-Slovenian wife Chantala and her family, who have European passports, to smuggle the cash into Switzerland. Donnie and Brad get into a heated argument in public during a money exchange, resulting in Brad's arrest as Donnie escapes. Donnie informs Jordan that he has come upon some lemon 714 quaaludes, which the latter refers to as the Holy Grail of drugs. The two take the pills at Balfour's home, but they have no effect. They assume that they have expired, and wind up taking the rest of their supply. Jordan's private investigator Bo Dietl calls him and tells him he needs to talk to him on a payphone. Jordan drives to a local country club and calls Bo, who informs him that the FBI is wiretapping his phones. While talking with Bo, the quaaludes kick in, and Jordan becomes extremely inebriated, struggling to get home in his Lamborghini Countach. When he gets home, he finds Donnie talking on the phone, and nearly strangles him with the phone cord. Donnie chokes on some meat. Jordan ingests a large amount of cocaine and gives him the Heimlich maneuver. The next day, the police arrive and inform Jordan that his car has been trashed. Fearing for his son, Jordan's father Max advises him to leave Stratton Oakmont and lie low while Jordan's lawyer negotiates a deal to keep him out of prison. In the midst of his farewell speech, Jordan cannot bear to quit and talks himself into staying, to the immense support of his friends and employees, but to the anger of his father. In 1996, Jordan, Donnie, and their wives are on a yacht trip to Italy, when they learn that Emma has died of a heart attack. Fearing for the money he left under her name in his Swiss account, Jordan announces that they will chart a course to Switzerland to forge her name on a document and save the account before going to London for the funeral. To bypass the border patrols, he orders his yacht captain Ted to sail to Monaco, but their ship capsizes in a storm. After their rescue, the plane sent to take them to Geneva is destroyed when a seagull flies into the engine. Jordan takes this as a sign from God to address his worsening drug addiction and attempts to sober up. In 1998, Sorel and Koskov are arrested for an unrelated crime, the former informing the FBI about Jordan as part of a plea bargain. Since the evidence against him is overwhelming, Jordan agrees to gather evidence from the rest of his colleagues in exchange for leniency. After having sex for the last time, Naomi tells Jordan that she is divorcing him, and wants full custody of their daughter and infant son. In a cocaine-fueled rage, Jordan punches Naomi and tries to drive away with their daughter, but crashes his car in the driveway. Later, Jordan wears a wire to work and slips a note to Donnie, warning his partner. However, the note is shortly found by the FBI, who arrest Jordan, before they raid and shut down Stratton Oakmont. Despite breaching his deal, Jordan receives a reduced sentence of 36 months in a minimum security prison for his testimony, and is released in 2000 after serving 22 months. After his release, Jordan makes a living hosting seminars on sales techniques, using the same test he used with his founding partners at his firm. Cast: Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Balfour. Jonah Hill as Donny Azoff. Margot Robbie as Naomi LaPaglia. Matthew McConaughey as Mark Hanna. Kyle Chandler as FBI agent Patrick Denham. Rob Reiner as Max Belfour. John Bernthal as Brad Bodnick. Jon Favreau as Manny Riskin. Jean Dujardin as Jean-Jacques Sorel. Joanna Lumley as Aunt Emma. Kristen Milioti as Teresa Petrillo. Christine Ebersole as Leah Belfour. Shea Wiggum as Captain Ted Beecham. Katarina Ka as Chantalette. PJ Byrne as Nikki Koskoff, Rugrat. Kenneth Choi as Chester Ming. Brian Saka as Robbie Feinberg, Pinhead. Henry Zebrowski as Alden Kupferberg, Sea Otter. Ethan Suplee as Toby Welch. Sandra Nelson as Aliyah Farran, Forbes reporter. Aya Cash as Janet. In addition, cameos and smaller roles include Bo Dietl as himself, the real Jordan Belfort as the Auckland Straight Line host at the end of the film, Stephanie Kurtzuba as Kimmy Belzer, Thomas Middleditch as a Stratton broker whose goldfish is eaten by Donnie for slacking off. Jake Hoffman as Steve Madden, Fran Lebowitz as the honorary sick Samantha Stogel, Edward Herrmann as the voiceover in the Stratton Oakmont commercial at the beginning of the film, and an uncredited Spike Jonze as Dwayne, the head of the Long Island brokerage firm who introduces Belfort to the world of penny stocks. 7. Production. Development. Martin Scorsese, the director of the film, in 2010. In 2007, DiCaprio and Warner Brothers won a bidding war for the rights to Belfort's memoir The Wolf of Wall Street, with Belfort making $1 million off the deal. 8-9 Having worked on the film's script, Scorsese was considered to direct the film but abandoned the project to work on Shutter Island, 2010. 10 In 2010, Warner Brothers offered the directorial role to Ridley Scott, with Brad Pitt playing Belfort 11, but the studio eventually abandoned the project. 12. In 2012, the independent company Red Granite Pictures greenlit the project without content restrictions. Soon after, Scorsese came back on board. 13 Red Granite Pictures also asked Paramount Pictures to distribute the film. 14 Paramount agreed to do so in the United States, Canada, and Japan, with Red Granite Pictures holding international rights through various independent distributors. Universal Pictures distributed the film in some countries in Europe, and Roadshow Films distributed the film in Australia and New Zealand. 1516. According to Belfort, 17 Random House asked him to tone down or excise the depictions of debauchery in his memoir before publication, especially those relating to his bachelor party, which featured zoophilia, and rampant use of drugs like nitrous oxide. Neither the published memoir nor the film contains references to this. 18 Failed verification. In the film, most real-life characters' names have been changed from Belfort's original memoir. Donny Azoff is based on Danny Perouche. The name was changed after Perouche threatened to sue the filmmakers and Paramount. Perouche maintains that much of the film is fictional and that Azoff is not an accurate depiction of him. 1920 Former Donna Karen Jeanswear CEO Elliot Levine does not appear in the film, but an incident recounted in the book, in which Belfort gives Levine mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to save him from choking to death, is similar to a scene in the film involving Donnie. The FBI agent Patrick Denham is the stand-in for real-life Gregory Coleman. 21 And lawyer Manny Riskin is based on Ira Sorkin. 22 Belfort's first wife, Denise Lombardo, is renamed Teresa Petrillo, and his second wife, Nadine Caridi, is Naomi LaPaglia on screen. In contrast, Mark Hanna's name remains the same as the L.F. Rothschild stockbroker who, like Belfort, was convicted of fraud and served time in prison. 23-24 Belfort's parents Max and Leah Belfort's names remain the same for the film. 25 The role of Aunt Emma was initially offered to Julie Andrews, who declined as she was recovering from an ankle injury, and was replaced by Joanna Lumley. 26 Olivia Wilde auditioned for the role of Naomi, but she was rejected as she was deemed too old for the role despite DiCaprio being a decade older than her. The role eventually went to Margot Robbie. 27 In January 2014, Jonah Hill revealed in an interview with Howard Stern that he had made only $60,000 on the film, the lowest possible SAG-AFTRA rate for his amount of work, while DiCaprio, who also produced, received $10 million. 28-29-30. Filming. Filming began on August 8, 2012, in New York City. 31 Hill announced on Twitter that his first day of shooting was September 4, 2012. 32 Non-primary source needed filming also took place in Gloucester, New Jersey, and Harrison, New York. 33-34 Vitamin D powder was used as the fake substance for cocaine in the film. Hill was hospitalized with bronchitis due to snorting large quantities during filming. 35. Scorsese's longtime editor Thelma Schoonmaker, who has received 7 Academy Award nominations, as well as 1 win, for Best Film Editing, said the film would be shot digitally instead of on film. 36 Scorsese had been a proponent of shooting on film, but decided to shoot Hugo digitally because it was being photographed in 3D. Despite being filmed in 2D, The Wolf of Wall Street was originally planned to be shot digitally. 37 Schoonmaker expressed her disappointment with the decision. It would appear that we've lost the battle. I think Marty just feels it's unfortunately over, and there's been no bigger champion of film than him. 36. After extensive comparison tests during pre-production, eventually the majority of the film was shot on film stock, while scenes that used green screen effects or low light, mainly the nighttime scenes, were shot with the digital Arri Alexa camera system. 37 The film contains 400 to 450 VFX shots. 38. Profanity. The film set a Guinness World Record for the most instances of swearing in a motion picture. 39 It uses the word fuck 569 times, a cunt 3 times, twat twice, fuckface once, and prick 4 times, averaging 2.81 profanities per minute. 40 42 43 The previous record holders were Scorsese's gangster films Goodfellas, 1990, and Casino, 1995, which had respectively 300 and 422 uses of the word, the 1993 film Menace to Society, which had 305 uses, the 1997 British film Nil by Mouth, which had 428, and the 1999 film Summer of Sam at 435. 39 The record has since been broken by Swearnit, the movie, which uses the word 935 times, but it still holds the record for a major theatrical release. 44. The film's distributor in the United Arab Emirates cut 45 minutes of scenes of swearing, religious profanity, drug use, sex, and nudity, and muted dialogue containing expletives. The National reported that filmgoers in the UAE believed the film should not have been shown rather than being edited so heavily. 45. Release. Theatrical. The Wolf of Wall Street premiered at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York City on December 17, 2013. 46 followed by a wide release on December 25. Its original release date of November 15 was pushed back after cuts were made to reduce the runtime. 47 On October 22, it was reported that the film was set for release that Christmas. 48 On October 29, Paramount officially confirmed that the film would release on Christmas Day, with a runtime of 165 minutes. 49:50 This was changed to 180 minutes on November 25. 51 It was officially rated R by the Motion Picture Association, MPA, for sequences of strong sexual content, graphic nudity, drug use, and language throughout, and for some violence. 52 In the United Kingdom, the film received an 18 certificate from the British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, for very strong language, strong sex, and hard drug use. 1. The film is banned in Kenya, Malaysia, Nepal, and Zimbabwe because of its scenes depicting sex and drugs and excessive profanity, and additional scenes have been cut in the versions playing in India. In Singapore, After cuts were made to a gay orgy scene as well as some religiously profane or denigrating language, the film was past R21. 53-54. The release of The Wolf of Wall Street marked a shift in cinema history when Paramount became the first major studio to distribute movies to theaters exclusively in a digital format, eliminating 35mm film entirely. Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues was the last Paramount production to include a 35mm film version to be shown in theaters. 55-56. Home media. The Wolf of Wall Street was released on DVD and Blu-ray on March 25, 2014. 57. On January 27, 2014, it was announced that a 4-hour director's cut would be attached to the home release. 58. Paramount later announced that the home release would feature only the original theatrical version. 59. A 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray was released on December 14, 2021. 60. Reception. Box office. The Wolf of Wall Street grossed $116.9 million in the United States and Canada, and $289 million internationally, for a worldwide total of $406.90 million. It is Scorsese's highest grossing film. 61. In the United States, the film finished in 5th place in its first weekend with $19.4 million from 3,387 theaters, for a 5-day total of $34.2 million. 62. The film made $13.2 million, a drop of 27.9%, and $8.8 million, 33%, in its second and third weekends, finishing in 4th place both times. 63-64. In Australia, it was the highest grossing R-rated film, earning $12.96 million. 65. Critical response. The performances of Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill garnered critical acclaim, earning them Academy Award nominations for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor respectively. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 79% of 284 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 7.8/10. The website's consensus reads, "Funny, self-referential, and irreverent to a fault, The Wolf of Wall Street finds Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio at their most infectiously dynamic." 66. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 75 out of 100, based on 47 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 67. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone magazine named The Wolf of Wall Street as the third best movie of 2013, behind 12 Years a Slave and Gravity. 68. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote, "It is the best and most enjoyable American film to be released this year." 69. Richard Brody of The New Yorker called the film Olympian, saying that if it was Scorsese's last film it would rank among the most harshly awe-inspiring farewells of the cinema. 70. The Chicago Sun-Times's Richard Roper gave the film a B+, calling it good, not great Scorsese. 71. Dana Stevens of Slate was more critical, calling the film epic in size, claustrophobically narrow in scope. 72. Marshall Fine of the Huffington Post argued that the story wants us to be interested in characters who are dull people to start with, made duller by their delusions of being interesting because they are high. 73. Some critics viewed the film as an irresponsible glorification of Belfour and his associates rather than a satirical takedown. DiCaprio defended the film, arguing that it does not glorify the excessive lifestyle it depicts. 74-75. In 2016, the film was ranked number 78 on the BBC's 100 Greatest Films of the 21st Century list. 76. In 2017, Richard Brody named The Wolf of Wall Street the second best film of the 21st century so far, behind Jean-Luc Godard's In Praise of Love. 77. In 2019, Brody named The Wolf of Wall Street the best film of the 2010s. 78. In 2025, The film ranked number 20 on the New York Times list of the 100 best movies of the 21st century and number 54 on the Reader's Choice edition of the list. 7980. Audience response. The film received an average grade of C on an A+ to F scale from audiences surveyed by CinemaScore. 81, the lowest rating of any film opening that week. 82, the Los Angeles Times suggested that the film's marketing may have attracted conservative viewers who expected a more moralistic tone than the film presents. 83. Christina McDowell, daughter of Tom Prouzelis, who worked closely with Belfour at Stratton Oakmont, wrote an open letter to Scorsese, DiCaprio, and Belfour, criticizing the film for insufficiently portraying the victims of Stratton Oakmont's financial crimes, disregarding the damage done to her family as a result, and giving celebrity status to people, Belfour and his partners, including her father, who do not deserve it. 84. Stephen Perlberg of Business Insider saw an advance screening of the film at a Regal Cinemas near the Goldman Sachs building with an audience of finance workers. Perlberg reported cheers from the audience at what he considered all the wrong moments, writing, "When Belfour, a drug addict attempting to remain sober, rips up a couch cushion to get to his secret coke stash, there were cheers." 85. Former Assistant United States Attorney Joel M. Cohen, who prosecuted Belfour, criticized both the film and the book on which it is based. He said that he believes some of Belfour's claims were invented. For instance, Belfour aggrandized his importance and reverence for him by others at his firm. He strongly criticized the film for not depicting the thousands of victims who lost hundreds of millions of dollars, not accepting the filmmaker's argument that it would have diverted attention from the wrongdoers. He deplored the ending beyond an insult to Belfour's victims, in which the real Belfour appears, while showing a large sign advertising the name of Mr. Belfour's real motivational speaking company, and a positive depiction of Belfour uttering variants of the same falsehoods he trained others to use against his victims. 86. Top 10 lists. The Wolf of Wall Street was listed on many critics' top 10 lists for films released in 2013. 87, and was chosen as one of the top 10 films of the year by the American Film Institute. 88, Metacritic analysis found the film was the 9th most mentioned film on Best of the Year film rankings. 89, and the 22nd most mentioned on Best of the Decade film rankings. Controversies. Use of animals. The Wolf of Wall Street uses animals, including a chimpanzee, a lion, a snake, a fish, and dogs. 93, the chimpanzee and the lion were provided by the Big Cat Habitat Wildlife Sanctuary in Sarasota County, Florida. The 4-year-old chimpanzee Chance spent time with DiCaprio and learned to roller skate in 3 weeks. The sanctuary also provided a lion named Handsome because the trading company depicted in the film used a lion as its symbol. 94, Danny Perush denied that there were any animals in the office, although he admitted to eating an employee's goldfish. 95. In December 2013, before the film premiered, the organization Friends of Animals criticized the use of the chimpanzee and organized a boycott of the film. Variety reported, Friends of Animals thinks the chimp suffered irreversible psychological damage after being forced to act. 96. The Guardian commented on the increasing criticism of Hollywood's use of animals, writing, "The Wolf of Wall Street's use of a chimpanzee arrives as Hollywood comes under ever-increasing scrutiny for its employment of animals on screen." PETA also launched a campaign to highlight mistreatment of ape actors and to petition for DiCaprio not to work with great apes. 95. 1MDB scandal. Further information: 1 Malaysia development Berhad scandal and Najib Razak controversies. Producer Riza Aziz was arrested in 2019 and faces trial over allegations that Wolf of Wall Street's financing is connected to the 1 Malaysia development Berhad scandal. The scandal also implicated his stepfather Najib Razak, former Prime Minister of Malaysia. In 2015, Red Granite Pictures and the film's financing became implicated in the 1 Malaysia development Berhad scandal, a major international corruption scandal that began in Malaysia. 97 The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, alleged the film was financed by money producer Riza Aziz stole from the Malaysian One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB, sovereign wealth fund. Aziz is the stepson of then Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. Aziz was arrested in connection with the scandal and pleaded not guilty to money laundering charges in July 2019. 98 According to court filings, a company owned by fugitive businessman Yahya Low gave the film's producers a $9 million advance. 99 Low was given a special thanks in the film's credits. 97. The film is part of a broader investigation into these illicit monetary movements, and in 2016 was named in a series of civil complaints the United States Department of Justice filed for having provided a trust account through which hundreds of millions of dollars belonging to the 1MDB fund were illicitly siphoned. 100, 101, 102 To settle the civil lawsuit, Red Granite Pictures agreed to pay the U.S. government $60 million with no admission of wrongdoing or liability on the part of Red Granite. 103 The settlement was part of a more expansive U.S. effort to seize approximately $1.7 billion in assets allegedly purchased with funds embezzled from 1MDB. 103 In January 2020, Belfour sued Red Granite for $300 million, also wishing to void his rights deal. He said that he would never have sold the rights to Red Granite if he had known how the film was being financed. 104 105 Aziz was discharged in May 2020 on a 1 million Malaysian ringgit, $240,000 bail. 6. Thematic controversy and debate. Various people have criticized the film as materialistic, encouraging greedy behavior, extreme wealth, and advocating for the infamous individuals portrayed in the film. Christina McDowell, whose father, Tom Prouzelis, worked in association with Belfour, accused the filmmakers of exacerbating our national obsession with wealth and status and glorifying greed and psychopathic behavior. She emphasized the gravity and significance of Belfour's crimes, saying that Wolf of Wall Street is a reckless attempt at continuing to pretend that these sorts of schemes are entertaining, even as the country is reeling from yet another round of Wall Street scandals. 106. After DiCaprio defended himself from criticism, Variety journalist Whitney Friedlander called the film 3 hours of cash, drugs, hookers, repeat, and argued that the film is a celebration of this lifestyle and implies that short-lived extreme wealth and extraordinary experiences are superior to normal behavior. 107. Nicole ten Brink, Vice President of Marketing and Membership at Risk and Insurance Management Society, has said the film is a cautionary tale of what can happen when fraud is left unchecked. She describes Belfour's business acumen, his talent in communicating and selling his ideas, and his ability to motivate others as offering valuable lessons for risk professionals as they seek to avoid similar pitfalls. 108. Belfour's reaction. Belfour said of the film's depiction of himself and Stratton Oakmont that it did an excellent job at describing the overall feeling of those years, adding, the camaraderie, the insanity, that was accurate. Of his drug use, Belfour said that his actual habits were much worse than is depicted in the film and that he was on 22 different drugs at the end. 109. Belfour also analyzed the inaccuracies in the film's oversimplification of Stratton Oakmont's gradual transition from advocating for speculative stocks to help build America to committing crimes. He said he didn't like hearing overly simplified and blunt depictions of his crimes because it made me look like I was just trying to rip people off. However, Belfour did acknowledge the cinematic benefits of these oversimplifications as a very easy way in 3 hours to move the audience emotionally. 109. Nadine Macalusso's reaction. On September 28, 2022, Nadine Macalusso, Belfour's ex-wife on whom the character Naomi was based, said that the depiction of Belfour and their relationship was accurate and that she hopes to educate people on signs of domestic abuse and toxic relationships. 110. Accolades. Main article, list of accolades received by The Wolf of Wall Street, 2013 film. The film was nominated for 5 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director for Scorsese, Best Adapted Screenplay for Winter, Best Actor for DiCaprio, and Best Supporting Actor for Hill. 111. It was also nominated for 4 BAFTAs, including Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Adapted Screenplay, and 2 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. 112. DiCaprio won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. 113. Soundtrack. Main article, The Wolf of Wall Street, Soundtrack. The film's soundtrack features both original and pre-existing music tracks. It was released on December 17, 2013, for digital download. 115. More than 60 songs are used in the film, but only 16 are on the official soundtrack. Among the notable exceptions are original compositions by Theodore Shapiro. Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio 1/DiCaprio, Italian, DiCaprio, born November 11, 1974, is an American actor and film producer. Known for his work in biographical and period films, he is the recipient of numerous accolades, including an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, and 3 Golden Globe Awards. As of 2019, his films have grossed over $7.2 billion worldwide, and he has been placed 8 times in annual rankings of the world's highest-paid actors. Born in Los Angeles, DiCaprio began his career in the late 1980s by appearing in television commercials. He had a recurring role in the sitcom Parenthood, 1990 to 1991, and had his first major film part as Arthur Tobias Wolff in This Boy's Life, 1993. He received critical acclaim and his first Academy Award nomination for playing a developmentally disabled boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993. DiCaprio achieved international stardom with the star-crossed romances Romeo plus Juliet, 1996, and Titanic, 1997. After the latter became the highest-grossing film in the world at the time, he reduced his workload for a few years. In an attempt to shed his image of a romantic hero, DiCaprio sought roles in other genres, including the 2002 crime dramas Catch Me If You Can and Gangs of New York. The latter marked the first of his many successful collaborations with director Martin Scorsese. DiCaprio continued to gain acclaim for his performances in the biopic The Aviator, 2004, the political thriller Blood Diamond, 2006, the crime drama The Departed, 2006, and the romantic drama Revolutionary Road, 2008. He later made environmental documentaries and starred in several high-profile directors' successful projects, including the action thriller Inception and psychological thriller Shutter Island, both 2010, the western Django Unchained, 2012, the romantic drama The Great Gatsby, 2013, the biopic The Wolf of Wall Street, 2013, the survival drama The Revenant, 2015, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor, the comedy dramas Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019, and Don't Look Up, 2021, and the crime drama Killers of the Flower Moon, 2023. DiCaprio is the founder of Appian Way Productions, a production company that has made some of his films, and the documentary series Greensburg, 2008 to 2010, and Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, a non-profit organization devoted to promoting environmental awareness. A United Nations Messenger of Peace, he regularly supports charitable causes. In 2005, he was named a Commander of the Order of Arts and Letters for his contributions to the arts, and in 2016, he appeared in Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World. DiCaprio was voted one of the 50 greatest actors of all time in a 2022 readers' poll by Empire magazine. Early life and acting background. DiCaprio was born on November 11, 1974, in Los Angeles, California. He is the only child of Irmlin in Den Birken, a German 3 legal secretary, and George DiCaprio, an American underground comics artist and distributor. The couple met while attending college and moved to Los Angeles after graduating. 4-5 George's paternal grandparents, Salvatore DiCaprio and Rosina Casella, were Italian. 6-7-8 while his mother, Olga Ann Jacobs, was of German descent. Irmland's father, Wilhelm Indenburken, was German. 9 while her mother, Helene Indenburken, was a Russian immigrant living in Germany. 10 Some sources have falsely claimed that Helene was born in Odessa, Ukraine. There is no evidence that DiCaprio has any relatives of Ukrainian birth or heritage. 11. DiCaprio got his name because a pregnant Irmland first felt him kick while she was looking at a Leonardo da Vinci painting in the Uffizi Museum in Florence, Italy. 12 When he was 1 year old, Irmland and George divorced after the latter fell in love with another woman and moved out. 13-14 To raise DiCaprio together, Irmland and George moved into twin cottages with a shared garden in Echo Park, Los Angeles. 13-15 George lived with his girlfriend and her son, Adam Ferrar, with whom DiCaprio developed a close bond. 16 DiCaprio and Irmland later moved to other neighborhoods, such as Los Feliz. 17 He has described Irmland and George as bohemian in every sense of the word and as the people I trust the most in the world. 18 DiCaprio has mentioned growing up poor in a neighborhood plagued with prostitution, crime, and violence. 19 He was raised Catholic. 20. Attending the Los Angeles Center for Enriched Studies for 4 years and later Seeds Elementary School, DiCaprio later enrolled at John Marshall High School. 21-22 He disliked public school and wanted to audition for acting jobs instead. 19 He dropped out of high school later, eventually earning a general equivalency diploma. 23. As a child, DiCaprio wanted to become either a marine biologist or an actor. He eventually favored the latter. He liked impersonating characters and imitating people, and enjoyed seeing their reactions to his acting. 24 According to DiCaprio, his interest in performing began at the age of 2 when he went onto the stage at a performance festival and danced spontaneously to a positive response from the crowd. 25 He was also motivated to learn acting when Ferrar's appearance in a television commercial earned him $50,000. 26 DiCaprio has said in interviews that his first television appearance was in the children's series Romper Room, and that he was dismissed from the show for being disruptive. The show's host has denied that any children were removed from the show in this way. 27-28 At the age of 11, DiCaprio almost quit acting in order to pursue breakdancing, having gotten second place in a competition in Irmland's native Germany. 29 At the age of 14, he began appearing in several commercials for Matchbox cars, which he calls his first role. 27 DiCaprio later appeared in commercials for Kraft Singles, Bubble Yum, and Apple Jacks. 30 In 1989, he played the role of Glenn in 2 episodes of the television show The New Lassie. 31. At the beginning of his career, DiCaprio had difficulty finding an agent. When he found one, the agent suggested DiCaprio change his name to Lenny Williams to appeal to American audiences, which he declined to do. 32 DiCaprio remained jobless for a year and a half, although he had 100 auditions. Following this lack of success, DiCaprio was going to give up acting, but George persuaded him to persevere. Motivated by George and by the prospect of financial security, DiCaprio continued to audition. After a talent agent, who knew Irmland's friend, recommended him to casting directors, DiCaprio secured roles in about 20 commercials. 33. By the early 1990s, DiCaprio began acting regularly on television, starting with a role in the pilot of The Outsiders, 1990, and one episode of the soap opera Santa Barbara, 1990, in which he played a teenage alcoholic. 34 DiCaprio's career prospects improved when he was cast in Parenthood, a series based on the 1989 comedy film of the same name. To prepare for the role of Gary Buckman, a troubled teenager, he analyzed Joaquin Phoenix's performance in the original film. 35 His work that year earned him 2 nominations at the 12th Youth in Film Awards: Best Young Actor in a Daytime Series for Santa Barbara and Best Young Actor starring in a new television series for Parenthood. 36 Around this time, he was a contestant on the children's game show Fun House, on which he performed several stunts, including catching the fish inside a small pool using only his teeth. 37-38 Career 1991 to 1996, Early Work and Breakthrough. DiCaprio made his film debut in 1991 as the stepson of an unscrupulous landlord in the low-budget horror sequel Critters 3. A part he later described as your average, no depth, standard kid with blonde hair. 39 DiCaprio has stated that he prefers not to remember Critters 3, viewing it as possibly one of the worst films of all time and the kind of role he wanted to avoid in the future. 40 Later in 1991, he became a recurring cast member on the sitcom Growing Pains, playing Luke Brower, a homeless boy who is taken in by the show's central family. 41 Co-star Joanna Kearns recalls DiCaprio being especially intelligent and disarming for his age, but she noted that he was also mischievous and jocular on set, and often made fun of his co-stars. 42 DiCaprio was cast by the producers to appeal to young female audience, but his arrival did not improve the show's ratings and he left before the end of its run. 43 He was nominated for a Young Artist Award for Best Young Actor co-starring in a television series. 44 DiCaprio also had an uncredited role in 1991 in one episode of Roseanne. 45 Lasse Hallström holding a mic in his left hand and looking away from the camera. Lasse Hallström directed DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, for which he earned his first Academy Award nomination. In 1992, DiCaprio had a brief role in the first installment of the Poison Ivy film series 46 and was handpicked by Robert De Niro from a short list of 400 young actors to co-star with him in This Boy's Life. Adapted from the memoir by Tobias Wolff, the film focuses on the relationship between a rebellious teenager, Toby DiCaprio, and his mother, Ellen Barkin, and abusive stepfather, De Niro. 27-47-48 Director Michael Cotton Jones said that DiCaprio did not know how to behave on set. Accordingly, Cotton Jones used a strict mentoring style, after which DiCaprio's behavior began to improve. 42 Bill Jeberai of Rolling Stone found that the powerful bond between Barkin and DiCaprio elevated the film, praising DiCaprio's portrayal of his character's complex growth from a rebellious teen to an independent young man. 46 This Boy's Life was the first film that gained him recognition. 49 DiCaprio played the developmentally disabled brother of Johnny Depp's character in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, a comedy drama about a dysfunctional Iowa family. Cotton Jones recommended DiCaprio to director Lasse Hallström, who was initially skeptical, as he considered DiCaprio too good-looking for the part. Hallström cast DiCaprio after he emerged as the most observant auditionee. 39-42 To ensure authenticity in his portrayal, DiCaprio studied similarly impaired children and their mannerisms, and Hallström allowed him to create the character using his own researched attributes. 50 The film became a critical success. 51 At 19, DiCaprio earned a National Board of Review Award, as well as nominations for a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, making him the 7th youngest Oscar nominee in the category. 52-53 The film's real show-stopping turn comes from Mr. DiCaprio, wrote the New York Times critic Janet Maslin, who makes Arnie's many tics so startling and vivid that at first he is difficult to watch. The performance has a sharp, desperate intensity from beginning to end. 54 Karen James, also writing for the New York Times, said of his performances in This Boy's Life and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, he made the raw, emotional neediness of those boys completely natural and powerful. 55 DiCaprio's first role of 1995 was in Sam Raimi's western The Quick and the Dead. When Sony Pictures became dubious over DiCaprio's casting, co-star Sharon Stone paid his salary herself. 56 The film was released to dismal box office performance and mixed reviews from critics. 57-58 DiCaprio next starred as a teenage Jim Carroll, a drug-addicted high school basketball player and budding writer, in the biopic The Basketball Diaries. 59 He starred in the erotic drama Total Eclipse, 1995, driven by the desire to showcase an exceptional performance, which would focus on his acting talent rather than his much-discussed physical appeal. 60 Directed by Agnieszka Holland, it is a fictionalized account of the same-sex relationship between Arthur Rimbaud, DiCaprio, and Paul Verlaine, David Thewlis. DiCaprio was cast when River Phoenix died before filming began. 13 Although the film failed commercially. 61 It has been included in the catalog of the Warner Archive Collection, which releases classic and cult films from Warner Brothers library on home video. 62 A review in the San Francisco Chronicle called DiCaprio his generation's great acting promise but criticized the mismatch between Thewlis's cultivated British accent and DiCaprio's Southern California twang. 63 DiCaprio next starred opposite Claire Danes in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet, 1996, an abridged modernization of William Shakespeare's romantic tragedy, which retained the original Shakespearean dialogue. DiCaprio was initially unsure about another Romeo and Juliet adaptation, but at his father's suggestion, he agreed to examine Luhrmann's work more closely. DiCaprio and Luhrmann then spent a 2-week workshop exchanging ideas, which led to the collaboration. 64 Romeo plus Juliet established DiCaprio as a leading Hollywood actor. According to film scholar Murray Pomerantz, DiCaprio's newfound popularity helped the film become profitable only days after its release. 65-66 Reviewing DiCaprio's early works, David Thompson of The Guardian called DiCaprio a revelation in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, very moving in this boy's life, suitably desperate in The Basketball Diaries, and a vital spark in Romeo plus Juliet. 67 The latter earned DiCaprio a Silver Bear for Best Actor at the 1997 Berlin International Film Festival. 68 He then portrayed a young man who has been committed to a mental asylum in Marvin's Room, 1996, a family drama about two estranged sisters, played by Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton, who are reunited through tragedy. He played Hank, the troubled son of Streep's character. 69 Lisa Schwartzbaum of Entertainment Weekly praised the deeply gifted DiCaprio for holding his own against veteran actresses Keaton and Streep, describing the three as full-bodied and so powerfully affecting that you're carried along on the pleasure of being in the presence of their extraordinary talent. 70. 1997 to 2001, Titanic and worldwide recognition. Leomania redirects here. DiCaprio rejected a role in Boogie Nights, 1997, to star opposite Kate Winslet in James Cameron's Titanic as members of different social classes who fall in love aboard RMS Titanic during its ill-fated maiden voyage. 71 DiCaprio initially had doubts, but was eventually encouraged by Cameron to pursue the part. 72 With a production budget of more than $200 million. 73-74 The film was the most expensive in history at the time, and was shot at Rosarito, Baja California, where a replica of the ship was created. 75 Titanic became the highest grossing film at the time, eventually earning more than $2.1 billion in box office receipts worldwide. The role of Jack Dawson transformed DiCaprio into a superstar, resulting in intense adoration among teenage girls and young women that became known as Leomania. 78-79 The film won 11 Academy Awards, the most wins for any film including Best Picture, but DiCaprio's failure to gain a nomination led to a protest against the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, AMPAS, by more than 200 fans. 80-81 He was nominated for other high-profile awards, including a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor. 82. A photograph of Leonardo DiCaprio attending a press conference for The Beach. DiCaprio at a press conference for The Beach in 2000. DiCaprio stated in 2000, "I have no connection with me during that whole Titanic phenomenon and what my face became around the world. I'll never reach that state of popularity again, and I don't expect to. It's not something I'm going to try to achieve either." 83. In his 2015 Rolling Stone article, Ebery called the role DiCaprio's best, writing that he and Winslet infused their earnest back and forth with so much genuine emotion that it's hard not to get swept up in their doomed love affair. 46. A writer for Vanity Fair in 2008 similarly labeled them Hollywood's most iconic screen couple since Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. 84. Writing about her first viewing of the film in 2017, Vox contributor Alyssa Wilkinson took note of DiCaprio's boyish charm and found his performance natural and unaffected. 85. The success of Titanic intensified DiCaprio's standing as a teen idol and romantic lead, an image from which he sought to dissociate himself. 79. He reduced his workload to learn to hear his own voice in choosing the roles that he wanted to pursue. 86. DiCaprio had a brief featured role in Woody Allen's 1998 satire of fame, Celebrity. Ebery labeled DiCaprio the best thing in the film. 46. 87. That year, he also took on the dual roles of villainous King Louis XIV and his secret, sympathetic twin brother Philippe in Randall Wallace's The Man in the Iron Mask, with common elements from the 1939 film of the same name and a 1929 film with Douglas Fairbanks. 88. It received mixed to negative reviews. 89. But grossed $180 million against a budget of $35 million. 1991 Entertainment Weekly critic Owen Gleiberman wrote that DiCaprio did not look old enough to play the part, but praised him as a fluid and instinctive actor, with the face of a mischievous angel. 92. The Guardian's Alex von Tunzelmann was similarly impressed with the actor's performance but found his talent wasted in the film. 93. DiCaprio won a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Screen Couple for the dual roles in 1999. 94. Also in 1998, DiCaprio was cast to star in American Psycho, 2000, for a reported salary of $20 million. After disagreements with Oliver Stone on the film's direction, DiCaprio left the project, taking the lead role in The Beach instead. 95. Adapted from Alex Garland's 1996 novel, the film saw him play a backpacking American tourist who ends up in a secret island commune in the Gulf of Thailand. 96. Budgeted at $50 million, the film earned almost 3 times that at the box office. 97. But was negatively reviewed by critics, and earned him a nomination for the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor. 98. 99. Todd McCarthy of Variety thought DiCaprio gave a compelling performance but his character lacked defining qualities. 100. The film received criticism for damaging the filming location in Thailand, after which DiCaprio worked to restore the area. 101. In the mid-1990s, DiCaprio agreed to be in the mostly improvised black and white short film Don's Plum as a favor to aspiring director R.D. Robb. 27. When Robb expanded it to a full-length film, DiCaprio and co-star Tobey Maguire had its release blocked in the US and Canada by court order, arguing they never intended to make a feature film. The film premiered at the 2001 Berlin International Film Festival but remains obscure. 102. 2002 to 2009, work with Martin Scorsese and film production. See also, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio and Appian Way Productions. A photograph Leonardo DiCaprio with Martin Scorsese and Cameron Diaz, from left to right, surrounded by the paparazzi. DiCaprio attending an event for Gangs of New York with Martin Scorsese and Cameron Diaz at the 2002 Cannes Film Festival. DiCaprio turned down the role of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, Episode II, Attack of the Clones, 2002, feeling unprepared to take that dive at the time. 103. His first film that year was the biopic Catch Me If You Can, based on the life of Frank Abagnale Jr., who before his 19th birthday committed check fraud to make millions in the 1960s. 104. Directed by Steven Spielberg, the film was shot across 147 different locations in 52 days, making it the most adventurous, supercharged movie-making DiCaprio had experienced yet. 105. The film received critical acclaim and grossed $355 million against a budget of $52 million, becoming his second highest grossing release after Titanic. 106-107 Roger Ebert praised his departure from dark and troubled characters. 104 and 2 Entertainment Weekly critics in 2018 called it DiCaprio's best role, labeling him delightfully persuasive, deceptive, flirtatious, and sometimes tragic, and we dare you to find a better role, if you can. 108 DiCaprio received his third Golden Globe nomination for his performance in the film. 109. Also in 2002, DiCaprio starred in Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, a historical drama set in the mid-19th century in the Five Points district of New York City. Scorsese initially struggled selling his idea of realizing the film until DiCaprio became interested in starring in the film, and thus Miramax Films got involved with financing the project. Nonetheless, production on the film was plagued by overshooting of budgets and producer-director disagreements, resulting in an 8-month shoot. With a budget of $103 million, the film was the most expensive Scorsese had ever made. DiCaprio was drawn to playing Amsterdam Vallon, the young leader of an Irish-American street gang, as it marked a shift from boyish roles to a mature leading man. 110 Gangs of New York earned $193 million worldwide and received positive critical response. 111-112 and Thompson of The Observer took note of DiCaprio's low-key, sturdy performance, but felt that co-star Daniel Day-Lewis overshadowed him. 113. In 2004, DiCaprio founded the production company Appian Way Productions, a namesake of the Italian Road. 114 He was interested in finding unique source material and preserving its essence during development, citing previous experiences where the involvement of too many people influenced the final product in a negative way. 115 DiCaprio first executive produced The Assassination of Richard Nixon, which starred Sean Penn as Samuel Byck-45 and was screened at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival. 116 DiCaprio and Scorsese reunited for a biopic of Howard Hughes, an American film director and aviation pioneer suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder, in The Aviator, 2004, which DiCaprio also co-produced under Appian Way. He initially developed the project with Michael Mann, who was eventually replaced by Scorsese. 117-118 The Aviator became a critical and financial success, grossing $213 million against its budget of $110 million. 119-120 Simon Brand of Empire thought DiCaprio convincingly played a complex role and highlighted the scenes depicting Hughes's paranoia and obsession. 121 He received his first Golden Globe Award for Best Actor Motion Picture Drama and nominations for an Academy Award, a BAFTA Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award. 122. In 2006, DiCaprio starred in the crime film The Departed and the political war thriller Blood Diamond. In Scorsese's The Departed, DiCaprio played the role of Billy Costigan, a state trooper working undercover in the Irish mob in Boston, someone he characterizes as being in a constant 24-hour panic attack. DiCaprio especially liked the experience of working with co-star Jack Nicholson, describing a scene with him as one of the most memorable moments of his life as an actor. 123 In preparation, he visited Boston to interact with people associated with the Irish mob and gained 15 pounds, 6.8 kilograms, of muscle. 124 Critically acclaimed 125 The film grossed $291 million against a budget of $90 million, becoming DiCaprio and Scorsese's highest-grossing collaboration to that point. 126-107 Peter Travers of Rolling Stone praised DiCaprio's and co-star Matt Damon's performances as explosive, emotionally complex, but felt that Nicholson overshadowed the two. 127 Despite DiCaprio's leading role in The Departed, the film's distributor Warner Bros. Pictures submitted his performance for a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the AMPAs to avoid internal conflict with his part in Blood Diamond. 128 Instead, his co-star Mark Wahlberg was nominated, though DiCaprio earned other accolades for The Departed, including a Satellite Award for Best Supporting Actor and Best Actor nominations at the Golden Globes and BAFTA Awards. 129. A picture of Leonardo DiCaprio in a dark suit. DiCaprio at the 2007 Tribeca Film Festival. In Blood Diamond, DiCaprio starred as a diamond smuggler from Rhodesia who is involved in the Sierra Leone Civil War. While filming, he worked with 24 orphaned children from the SOS Children's Village in Maputo, Mozambique, and said he was touched by his interactions with them. 130 To prepare, he spent 6 months in Africa, learned about camouflage from people in South African military and interviewed and recorded people in the country to improve his accent. 131 The film received generally favorable reviews. 132 And DiCaprio was noted for his South African accent, which is generally known as difficult to imitate. 133 Claudia Puig of the USA Today approvingly highlighted DiCaprio's transition from a boy to a man on screen. 134 And Ann Hornaday of the Washington Post similarly noted his growth as an actor since The Departed. 135 DiCaprio received nominations for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Blood Diamond. 129. In 2007, DiCaprio produced the comedy drama Gardener of Eden, which according to The Hollywood Reporter's Frank Sheck lacked the necessary dramatic urgency or black humor to connect with audiences. 136 Later that year, he produced, co-wrote and narrated The 11th Hour, a documentary on the state of the natural environment that won the Earthwatch Environmental Film Award in 2008. 137 DiCaprio's Appian Way produced Planet Green's Greensburg, 2008 to 2010, which ran for 3 seasons. Set in Greensburg, Kansas, it is about rebuilding the town in a sustainable way after being hit by the 2007 Greensburg tornado. 138 Also in 2008, DiCaprio starred in Body of Lies, a spy film based on the novel of the same name. He played one of 3 agents battling a terrorist organization in the Middle East. 139 Considering the film to be a throwback to political features of the 1970s like The Parallax View, 1974, and 3 Days of the Condor, 1975, DiCaprio dyed his hair brown and wore brown contacts for the role. 139 The film received mixed reviews from critics. 140 and grossed $118 million against a budget of $67.5 million. 141. Later in 2008, DiCaprio collaborated with Kate Winslet for the drama Revolutionary Road, directed by her then-husband Sam Mendes. As both actors had been reluctant to make romantic films similar to Titanic, it was Winslet who suggested that they both work with her on a film adaptation of the 1961 eponymous novel by Richard Yates. She found that the script, by Justin Haythe, had little in common with the 1997 blockbuster. 142 Playing a couple in a failing marriage in the 1950s, DiCaprio and Winslet spent some time together in preparation, and DiCaprio felt claustrophobic on the small set they used. 143 He saw his character as unheroic, slightly cowardly and someone willing to be just a product of his environment. 144 Peter Travers liked DiCaprio's pairing with Winslet and his multi-layered portrayal of an overwhelmed character. 145 And Marshall Sella of GQ called it the most mature and memorable performance of his lifetime. 143 DiCaprio earned his 7th Golden Globes nomination for the film. 146 Revolutionary Road grossed $75.9 million against its budget of $35 million. 147 He ended the 2000s by producing director Jaume Collet-Serra's psychological horror thriller film Orphan, 2009, starring Vera Farmiga, Peter Sarsgaard, and Isabel Fuhrman. Although the film received mixed reviews, it was a commercial success. 148. 2010 to 2013, films with high-profile directors. DiCaprio continued to collaborate with Scorsese in the 2010 psychological thriller film Shutter Island, based on the 2003 novel of the same name by Dennis Lehane. He played Edward Teddy Daniels, a U.S. Marshal investigating a psychiatric facility located on an island, who comes to question his own sanity. DiCaprio and Scorsese became interested in the project in 2007, and the former co-produced the film under Appian Way with Phoenix Pictures. 149 Because of the film's disturbing scenes, DiCaprio had nightmares of mass murder during production and considered relaxing with his friends a form of therapy. 150 The film was released to mixed reviews. 151 Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian praised Scorsese's direction and the acting but criticized its twist ending. 152 Peter Travers called it DiCaprio's most haunting and emotionally complex performance yet, and particularly liked his cave scene with co-star Patricia Clarkson. 153 The film was a commercial success, grossing $294 million worldwide against a budget of $80 million. 154. A photograph of 7 people on stage, except for Leonardo DiCaprio on the right, they are all clapping cheerfully. DiCaprio, first from the right, with the cast of Inception at the film's premiere in 2010. DiCaprio's second role in 2010 was in Christopher Nolan's critically acclaimed ensemble science fiction film Inception. 155 Inspired by the experience of lucid dreaming and dream incubation. 156 The film features Dom Cobb, DiCaprio, an extractor who enters the dreams of others to obtain information that is otherwise inaccessible. Cobb is promised a chance to regain his old life in exchange for planting an idea in a corporate target's mind. 157 DiCaprio was fascinated with the idea of a dream heist and the potential for his character to manipulate his dream world and impact his real life. 158 Made on a budget of $160 million, the film grossed $836 million worldwide to become DiCaprio's second highest grossing film. 159 To star in this film, DiCaprio agreed to a pay cut from his $20 million fee and opted for a share in first dollar gross points, which entitled him to a percentage of the cinema ticket sales. The risk proved fruitful, as DiCaprio earned $50 million from the film, becoming his highest payday yet. 160. DiCaprio starred as J. Edgar Hoover in Clint Eastwood's J. Edgar, 2011. A biopic about Hoover, the film focuses on his career as an FBI director, including an examination of his private life as an alleged closeted homosexual. 161 Critics felt that the film lacked coherence overall but commended DiCaprio's performance. 163 Roger Ebert praised DiCaprio's ability to bring depth and nuance to the character, suggesting that his performance conveyed aspects of Hoover's personality that were possibly even unknown to the man himself. 164 Also in 2011, he produced Catherine Hardwicke's romantic horror film Red Riding Hood. Though it was named one of the 10 worst films of 2011 by Time magazine 165, it had moderate box office returns. 166 Also that year, DiCaprio's Appian Way produced George Clooney's political drama The Ides of March, an adaptation of Beau Willimon's 2008 play Farragut North. 167. In 2012, DiCaprio starred as plantation owner Calvin Candy in Quentin Tarantino's spaghetti western, Django Unchained. After reading the script, DiCaprio felt uncomfortable with the extent of racism portrayed in the film, but his co-stars and Tarantino convinced him not to sugarcoat it. 168 While filming, DiCaprio accidentally cut his hand on glass, but continued filming, and Tarantino elected to use the take in the final product. 169 The film received critical acclaim. 170 A writer for Wired magazine commended him for playing a villainous role and found his performance blood-chilling. 171 The film earned DiCaprio a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. 172 Django Unchained grossed $425 million worldwide on a production budget of $100 million. 173. In January 2013, DiCaprio said he would take a long break from acting to fly around the world doing good for the environment. 174 that year, he had 4 releases as an actor and a producer. His first was in the role of millionaire Jay Gatsby in Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, an adaptation of F. Scott Fitzgerald's 1925 novel of the same name, co-starring Carey Mulligan and Tobey Maguire. 175 The film received mixed reviews from critics, but DiCaprio's performance was praised and earned him the AACTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. 177 critic Rafer Guzman of Newsday wrote that DiCaprio was not only tough, but also vulnerable, touching, funny, a faker, a human. It's a tremendous, hard-won performance. 178. Matt Zoller cites of Roger Ebert's website described his performance as the movie's greatest and simplest special effect, and iconic, maybe his career best. 179 The film grossed $353 million worldwide, more than 3 times its budget. 183 films were produced by DiCaprio under Appian Way in 2013. The ensemble crime thriller Runner Runner, which The Guardian's Zan Brooks described as a lazy, trashy film that barely goes through the motions. 181 The commercially failed thriller Out of the Furnace, and the black comedy drama The Wolf of Wall Street. 182 183 DiCaprio reunited with Scorsese for the 5th time in The Wolf of the Wall Street, a film based on the life of stockbroker Jordan Belfort, played by DiCaprio, who was arrested in the late 1990s for securities fraud and money laundering. 185 DiCaprio wanted to play Belfort ever since he had read his autobiography and won a bidding war with Warner Brothers against Brad Pitt and Paramount Pictures for the rights to Belfort's memoir in 2007. 187 He was fond of Belfort's honest and unapologetic portrayal of his actual experiences in the book, and was inspired by the 2008 financial crisis to make the film. 115 The Wolf of Wall Street received positive reviews for Scorsese's and DiCaprio's work together. 188 The Hollywood Reporter's Todd McCarthy lauded DiCaprio for fully realizing his character's potential with a carefree performance. 189 Jonathan Romney of Film Comment wrote that DiCaprio displays a great deal of comedic talent, excelling in rubber-limbed slapstick humor. 190 The film earned him the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Motion Picture Musical or Comedy and nominations for a BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, as well as Academy Awards for Best Actor and Best Picture. 191 192 2014, present, environmental documentaries and award success. DiCaprio in 2015. DiCaprio was an executive producer on Virunga, a 2014 British documentary film about 4 people fighting to protect the world's last mountain gorillas from war and poaching. 193 The film premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in April 2014. 194 And DiCaprio was nominated for the 2015 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Special. 195 Cowspiracy, The Sustainability Secret was another documentary film that year for which he was an executive producer. He took part in the new cut released exclusively on Netflix that September. 196 It explores the impact of animal agriculture on the environment. 197 A photograph of Leonardo DiCaprio looking to his right. DiCaprio at the French premiere of The Revenant in 2016. In 2015, DiCaprio produced and played for trapper Hugh Glass in Alejandro G. Inarritu's survival drama The Revenant. DiCaprio found his role in the film difficult. He had to eat a raw slab of bison's liver and sleep in animal carcasses. 198 199 He also learned to shoot a musket, build a fire, speak 2 Native American languages, Pawnee and Arikara, and apply ancient healing techniques. 198 Built on a budget of $135 million, the film earned $533 million worldwide. 200. The film received positive reviews with particular praise for DiCaprio's acting. 201. Mark Kermode of The Guardian wrote that DiCaprio shone with a performance that prioritizes physicality over speech. 202. And Nick de Semlyen of Empire noted that he uplifted the film. 203. The film earned him numerous awards, including the Academy Award, BAFTA, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and SAG Award for Best Actor. 204. 205. 206. For the next 3 years, DiCaprio narrated documentaries and served as a producer for films. In 2016, he was an executive producer for The Ivory Game and Catching the Sun. 183. He also produced, hosted, and narrated the documentary Before the Flood about climate change. 207. He produced the crime drama Live by Night, 2016, which received unenthusiastic reviews and failed to recoup its $65 million production budget. 183. 208. His next production ventures were in 2018 the psychological horror Delirium and the commercially failed action adventure Robin Hood. 209. 210. After producing and narrating the 2019 global warming documentary Ice on Fire. 211. DiCaprio returned to acting following a 4-year break in Quentin Tarantino's comedy drama Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which traces the relationship between Rick Dalton, DiCaprio, an aging television actor, and his stuntman, Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt. 212. To help the film's financing, DiCaprio and Pitt agreed to take a pay cut, and they each received $10 million. 213. DiCaprio liked working with Pitt, and Tarantino described the pair as the most exciting since Robert Redford and Paul Newman. 214. 215. DiCaprio was fascinated with the film's homage to Hollywood and focus on the friendship between his and Pitt's characters. He drew from real-life experience of witnessing the struggles and rejections of his actor friends in the industry. 215. The film premiered at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival, where critics praised his and Pitt's performances. 216. A writer for Business Insider called it one of the best performances of DiCaprio's career. 217. And Ian Sandwell of Digital Spy particularly liked the duo's chemistry, believing their scenes together to be some of the film's strongest parts. 218. DiCaprio received nominations for an Oscar, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Actor. 219. The film earned $374 million against a budget of $90 million. 220. DiCaprio, second from right, in 2020 promoting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin Tarantino, Margot Robbie, and Brad Pitt. In 2020, DiCaprio served as an executive producer for The Right Stuff, a television series adaptation of the 1973 namesake book. After being in development at National Geographic, it was released on Disney+. 221. That May, DiCaprio briefly featured in the finale of the miniseries The Last Dance. 222. In 2021, DiCaprio appeared in Adam McKay's satirical comedy Don't Look Up. He spent 5 months changing the film's script with McKay before agreeing to the part. 223. Starring alongside Jennifer Lawrence as two astronomers attempting to warn humanity about an extinction-level comet, DiCaprio saw this film as an analogy of the world's indifference to the climate crisis. As a frequent supporter of environmentalism, DiCaprio said he has often looked to star in and make films tackling issues related to it, something he found hard due to people's inability to listen. He praised McKay for envisioning a project on how humans would react to a serious issue from a political, social, and scientific standpoint. 224. While reviews for the film were mixed, most critics praised DiCaprio's and Lawrence's performances. 225. Journalists from Digital Spy and NDTV lauded their pairing. 226. 227. DiCaprio earned nominations for a Golden Globe and a BAFTA Award for the film. 228. 229. It broke the record for the most views, 152 million hours, in a single week in Netflix history. 230. DiCaprio next starred in Scorsese's crime drama Killers of the Flower Moon, 2023, based on the book of the same name by David Grant 231, for which he was paid $30 million. 232 initially signed for the heroic part of FBI agent Thomas Bruce White Sr., DiCaprio insisted on playing the morally complex role of murderer Ernest Burkhart, leading to extensive script rewrites. 234 declaring it the best performance of DiCaprio's career. IndieWire's David Ehrlich wrote that his nuanced and uncompromising turn as the cretinous Ernest Burkhart mines new wonders from the actor's long-standing lack of vanity. 235 He received another Golden Globe nomination for his performance. 236 DiCaprio will next star in Paul Thomas Anderson's upcoming film One Battle After Another, co-starring Sean Penn and Regina Hall. 237 Reception and acting style. Early in his career, DiCaprio gained a reputation for his reckless behavior and intense partying with a group of male celebrities dubbed the Pussy Posse in the 1990s. 238 In an infamous article published by New York Magazine in 1998, journalist Nancy Jo Sales criticized the group as men whose pursuit was to chase girls, pick fights and not tip the waitress. 239 During an unknown activity, DiCaprio got himself and friend Justin Harewick almost killed when his parachute failed to open, after which his instructor released an emergency call. In response, DiCaprio said he is fond of doing things that scare him. John McCain, who was a United States Senator for Arizona, called him an androgynous wimp. 238 DiCaprio found people's perception of him exaggerated, adding, "They want you miserable, just like them. They don't want heroes, what they want is to see you fall." 13. Steven Spielberg, who directed him in Catch Me If You Can, defended DiCaprio's reputation as a party boy, believing it is a common behavior for young people and describing him as a family-oriented person during the film's production. 240 Considering DiCaprio to be conscious of his public reputation, the New York Times' Karen James credited him as one of the few actors to use his stardom to further social causes. 55 Carol Cadwalladr of The Guardian said DiCaprio is polite, charming, makes jokes, engages eye contact, and manages to give almost no hint whatsoever of his actual personality. 241 Life can get pretty monotonous. Acting is like living multiple lives. When you make a movie, you go off to different places, live different cultures, investigate somebody else's reality, and you try to manifest that to the best of your ability. It is incredibly eye-opening. That's why I love acting. There's nothing as transformative as what a film, a documentary, can do to get people to care about something else besides their own lives. DiCaprio on his love of acting. 24. DiCaprio is regarded as one of the finest actors of his generation. In a 2022 readers' poll by Empire, he was voted one of the 50 greatest actors of all time. The magazine praised his willingness to go to the ends of the earth, often literally, to get under his character's skin. 246 Colin Covert of the Seattle Times similarly believed DiCaprio redefines film stardom through his willingness to take on challenging roles that few of his contemporaries are capable of performing. 247 Since his international stardom with Titanic, 1997, he has admitted feeling nervous about starring in big-budget studio films because of their hype and marketing campaigns. As an actor, he views film as a relevant art form, like a painting or sculpture. 100 years from now, people will still be watching that movie. 4. He often plays roles based on real-life people and stories told in specific periods. 248 According to Karen James, DiCaprio is unafraid of working with established directors on unconventional projects. Taking such risks has led him to star in failed films like The Beach, 2000, 55, but also his successful collaborations with Martin Scorsese. 249-250 DiCaprio has described his relationship with Scorsese as dreamlike and admires his knowledge of film, crediting the director with having taught him its history and importance. 241 Scorsese has commented on DiCaprio's ability to repeatedly demonstrate emotion on screen. 251 Jesse Hassanger of the AV Club considers the duo's collaborations which earned them the 2013 National Board of Review Spotlight Award, 252 to be career-defining moments for both of them and as vital as Scorsese's acclaimed collaborations with Robert De Niro. 253. Author Michael K. Hammond wrote that DiCaprio built his star reputation by demonstrating his acting ability, and praised him for revealing a character while concealing the actor and disappearing into his roles. 254 According to Agnieszka Holland, who directed DiCaprio in Total Eclipse, 1995, DiCaprio is one of the most mature actors she has worked with and is courageous in his choice of roles. 255 Holland remarked that he does not rely on method acting but rather on a trick that allows him to truly become the character. 255 Meryl Streep, who co-starred with DiCaprio in Marvin's Room, said he possesses the kind of unpredictability that makes his career difficult to classify, his life precarious and his work thrilling. 65 Writing for The Observer, film critic Philip French has asserted that many characters portrayed by DiCaprio are in the process of becoming men. He wrote that DiCaprio's inclination toward films about dysfunctional families and characters seeking father figures may allude to his own troubled childhood. 241 DiCaprio often plays characters who themselves are playing roles, which Karen James says look simple on screen but requires sophisticated acting. 55 He tends to play anti-heroes and characters who lose their mental stability as the narrative progresses. 256-257 Derek Thompson of The Atlantic argued that DiCaprio gives his best performances when playing frauds and cheats and double-crossing liars and mercenaries. 256. Several media publications, such as People 258, Empire 259 and Harper's Bazaar 260 have included DiCaprio in their listings of the most attractive actors. In 1998, he sued Playgirl magazine over plans to publish a fully nude picture of him. 261 He has said he does not believe in focusing on appearance as this is only temporary and can negatively affect one's profession in the industry and looks for career longevity instead. 262 In 2005, DiCaprio was made a Commander of the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres by the French Minister of Culture for his contributions to the arts. 263 In 2016, he was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. 264 He was included on Forbes' annual list of the world's highest paid actors in 2008 and from 2010 to 2016 with respective earnings of $45 million, $28 million, $77 million, $37 million, $39 million, $39 million, $29 million, and $27 million, topping the list in 2011. The magazine has commended DiCaprio's ability to star in risky, R-rated films that become box office successes. 265 The Hollywood Reporter listed him as one of the 100 most powerful people in entertainment from 2016 to 2019. 266 A writer for the same magazine credits DiCaprio as the rare actor to have a successful career without ever having made a comic book movie, family film, or pre-branded franchise. Leo is the franchise. 267. Stacey Wilson Hunt, analyzing his career in New York Magazine in 2016, opined DiCaprio, unlike most of his contemporaries, had not starred in a bad film in the previous 10 years. 255 Of his success, DiCaprio says, "My attitude is the same as when I started. I feel very connected to that 15-year-old kid who got his first movie." 215. DiCaprio has named Robert De Niro and James Dean as two of his favorite and most influential actors, stating there were a lot of great actors I really fell in love with, but if I were to pick two, From different generations, it would be De Niro and James Dean. 212 When asked about a performance that stayed with him the most, DiCaprio responded, "I remember being incredibly moved by Jimmy Dean, in East of Eden. There was something so raw and powerful about that performance. His vulnerability, his confusion about his entire history, his identity, his desperation to be loved. That performance just broke my heart." 268. Other ventures. Activism. Climate change is real, it is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species, and we need to work collectively together and stop procrastinating. We need to support leaders around the world who do not speak for the big polluters, but who speak for all of humanity, for the indigenous people of the world, for the billions and billions of underprivileged people out there who would be most affected by this. For our children's children, and for those people out there whose voices have been drowned out by the politics of greed. DiCaprio during his acceptance speech at the 88th Academy Awards, 2016. 269. An active celebrity in the climate change movement. 270 DiCaprio believes global warming is the world's #1 environmental challenge. 271 Eager to learn about ecology from an early age, he would watch documentaries on rainforest depletion and the loss of species and habitats. 272 In 1998, he established the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, a non-profit organization devoted to promoting environmental awareness. 273 It supports organizations and campaigns committed to ensuring a viable future for planet Earth, and produced the short web documentaries Water Planet and Global Warming. 274 The foundation has also funded Debt for Nature swaps. 275 By 2018, the foundation had funded more than 200 projects, providing $100 million in support. 276 He has been an active supporter of numerous environmental organizations and sat on the board of the World Wildlife Fund and International Fund for Animal Welfare. 274 277 DiCaprio has owned environment-friendly electric hybrid vehicles. 278 His use of private jets and large yachts have been criticized as hypocritical due to their large carbon footprints. 279 280 DiCaprio chaired the National Earth Day celebration in 2000 where he interviewed Bill Clinton and they discussed plans to deal with global warming and the environment. 281 He presented at the 2007 American Leg of Live Earth. 282 DiCaprio donated $1 million to the Wildlife Conservation Society at Russia's Tiger Summit. DiCaprio's persistence in reaching the event after encountering 2 plane delays caused then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin to describe him as a mujik or real man. 283 284 In 2013, he organized a benefit fine art auction, 11th Hour, which raised nearly $38.8 million for his foundation. 285 In September 2014, United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon designated DiCaprio as a United Nations Messenger of Peace with a focus on climate change. 286 287 Later that month, he made an opening statement to members of the UN Climate Summit. His speech reached an estimated 1 billion people worldwide. 288 289 In 2015, he announced his intention to divest from fossil fuels. 290 He again spoke at the UN in April 2016 prior to the signing of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. 291 A photograph of John Kerry, left, and Leonardo DiCaprio both dressed in suits and looking away from the camera. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and DiCaprio at the Our Ocean Conference in 2016. At a 2016 meeting with Pope Francis, DiCaprio donated to charity and discussed environmental issues with him. A few days later, possibly influenced by this meeting, the Pope said he would act in a charity film. C. DiCaprio traveled to Indonesia in early 2016 where he criticized the government's palm oil industries and burn forest clearing methods. 293 in July 2016, his foundation donated $15.6 million to help protect wildlife and the rights of Native Americans, along with mitigating climate change. 294 that October, DiCaprio joined Mark Ruffalo in support of the Standing Rock Tribe's opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline. 295. In April 2017, DiCaprio protested against President Donald Trump's inaction on climate change by attending the People's Climate March. 296 in July, a charity auction and celebrity concert arranged by DiCaprio's foundation had raised over $30 million in one night. 297 The DiCaprio Foundation donated $100 million in December 2018 to fight climate change. 298 In May 2021, DiCaprio pledged $43 million to enact conservation operations across the Galapagos Islands. 299. Political views. DiCaprio endorsed Hillary Clinton for the 2016 presidential election. 300 In March 2020, DiCaprio attended a fundraiser for Joe Biden at the home of Paramount Pictures executive Sherry Lansing. 301 Prior to the 2020 election, DiCaprio narrated a Netflix documentary series about voting rights, stating, "All of us may have been created equal. But we'll never actually be equal until we all vote. So don't wait." 302. On social media, DiCaprio urged voters to make a plan to cast their ballots. 303 And to draw attention to voter suppression. 304 And restrictive voter ID laws, citing vote riders as a source of information and assistance. 305 In 2023, DiCaprio testified during the trial against Procazrol Michel, who is being accused of participating in a foreign influence campaign that was aimed at the Obama and Trump administrations. 306 During October 2024, DiCaprio formally endorsed Democratic nominee Kamala Harris for president due to her policies on climate change mitigation, and criticized her Republican opponent Donald Trump. 307. Philanthropy. In 1998, DiCaprio and his mother donated $35,000 for a Leonardo DiCaprio computer center at a library in Los Feliz. 308 In May 2009, DiCaprio joined Kate Winslet, director James Cameron and Canadian singer Celine Dion, in a campaign to raise money to financially support the fees of the nursing home where Melvina Dean, a survivor of the RMS Titanic, was residing. DiCaprio and Winslet donated $20,000 to support Dean. 309 In 2010, he donated $1 million to relief efforts in Haiti after the earthquake. 310 In 2011, DiCaprio joined the Animal Legal Defense Fund's campaign to release Tony, a tiger that had spent the last decade at a truck stop in Grosse Tete, Louisiana. 311 DiCaprio donated $61,000 to the gay rights group GLAAD in 2013. 312. In 2016, DiCaprio donated $65,000 to the annual fundraising gala for the Children of Armenia Fund, where he was a special guest of his friend and honorary chair, Tony Shafraza. 313 Supporting Hurricane Harvey, 2017, relief efforts, DiCaprio provided $1 million through his foundation. 314 In 2020, DiCaprio's foundation donated $3 million to Australia bushfire relief efforts. 315 Amidst the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, the media announced DiCaprio donated $10 million to support Ukraine. 317 Although the news agency Associated Press suggested this amount was inaccurate. 316. Personal life. A picture of Leonardo DiCaprio in a suit while he is looking to his left. DiCaprio in 2008. DiCaprio is agnostic. 318 His personal life is the subject of widespread media attention. 319 Though he rarely grants interviews and is reluctant to discuss his private life. 255 320 Since his 40s, DiCaprio has been the focus of various reports detailing his involvement with women aged 25 or younger, and has faced criticism for the age disparity of those relationships. EF 327 in 1999, DiCaprio met Brazilian model Gisele Bündchen, whom he dated until 2005. 328 He was romantically involved with Israeli model Bar Refaeli from 2005 to 2011. He later dated German fashion model Toni Gern from 2013 to 2014 and later in 2017. 329 DiCaprio was briefly romantically linked with Barbadian singer Rihanna, with the pair attending Coachella together in 2016. 330 DiCaprio successfully sued French tabloid Oops FR after it made claims that DiCaprio had gotten Rihanna pregnant. 331 DiCaprio was in a relationship with American model and actress Camila Morrone from 2017 until 2022. 332 He has been dating Italian model Vittoria Ciaretti since August 2023. 333 DiCaprio owns houses in Los Angeles and apartments in New York City. 334 In 2009, he bought an island, Blacador Cay, off mainland Belize, on which he is set to open an environmentally friendly resort. 335 336 And in 2014, he purchased the original Dinah Shore residence designed by architect Donald Wexler in Palm Springs, California. 337 In 2005, DiCaprio's face was severely injured when model Aretha Wilson hit him over the head with a broken bottle at a Hollywood party. As a result, he required 17 stitches to his face and neck. 338 Wilson pleaded guilty to the assault and was sentenced in 2010 to 2 years in prison. 339 DiCaprio has been the subject of several controversies. In 2017, when the Wolf of Wall Street producer Red Granite Pictures was involved in the One Malaysia development Berhad scandal, DiCaprio turned over the gifts he received from business associates at the production company, including from fugitive businessman Yaholo, to the U.S. government. 341 These included a Best Actor Oscar trophy won by Marlon Brando, a $3.2 million Pablo Picasso painting, and a $9 million Jean-Michel Basquiat collage. 342 In June 2025, DiCaprio drew criticism by attending the wedding of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez. Amazon has faced criticism for its impact on the environment. People questioned DiCaprio's decision, considering his active championing of environmental and humanitarian causes. A photo of DiCaprio at the event showed him hiding his face with his baseball cap. 343 In July 2025, DiCaprio received backlash from activists for co-financing a luxury hotel project near Tel Aviv in Israel despite the ongoing Gaza-Israel conflict, on which he has not commented. 344 345 Filmography and accolades. Main articles: Leonardo DiCaprio filmography and list of awards and nominations received by Leonardo DiCaprio. According to the online portal Box Office Mojo and the review aggregate site Rotten Tomatoes, DiCaprio's most critically and commercially successful films include What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993, Romeo plus Juliet, 1996, Titanic, 1997, Catch Me If You Can, 2002, Gangs of New York, 2002, The Aviator, 2004, The Departed, 2006, Blood Diamond, 2006, Revolutionary Road, 2008, Shutter Island, 2010, Inception, 2010, Django Unchained, 2012, The Great Gatsby, 2013, The Wolf of Wall Street, 2013, The Revenant, 2015, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019, Don't Look Up, 2021, and Killers of the Flower Moon, 2023. His films have grossed $7.2 billion worldwide. The Wolf of Wall Street is a 2013 American epic biographical black comedy crime film co-produced and directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Terence Winter, and based on Jordan Belfort's 2007 memoir. It recounts Belfort's career as a stockbroker in New York City and how his firm, Stratton Oakmont, engaged in rampant corruption and fraud on Wall Street, leading to his downfall. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Belfort, Jonah Hill as his business partner and friend Donny Ossoff, Margot Robbie as his second wife, Naomi LaPaglia, Matthew McConaughey as his mentor and former boss Mark Hanna, and Kyle Chandler as FBI Special Agent Patrick Denham portraying Gregory Coleman. It is DiCaprio's fifth collaboration with Scorsese. DiCaprio and Warner Brothers acquired the rights to Belfort's memoir in 2007, but production was halted due to content restrictions. It was later produced by the independent Granite Pictures. The film was shot in New York in late 2012, using mostly 35mm film stock. The film premiered in New York City on December 17, 2013, and was released in the United States on December 25, by Paramount Pictures. It was the first major American film to be released exclusively through digital distribution. For it was a major commercial success, grossing $407 million worldwide during its theatrical run, becoming Scorsese's highest-grossing film. However, the film initially received considerable controversy for its moral ambiguity and lack of sympathy for victims, as well as its explicit, graphic sexual content, extreme profanity, with at least 500 uses of the expletive fuck, depiction of hard drug use, and use of animals during production. The film was initially rated NC-17 by the Motion Picture Association, but it was shortly appealed for an R rating after Scorsese made slight changes to the film. It set a Guinness World Record for the most instances of profanity in a film. The film's financing became implicated in the One Malaysia Development Berhad corruption scandal. The U.S. Department of Justice and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission investigated Granite Pictures, and producer Riza Aziz was arrested in 2019. He was discharged in May 2020 on a 1 million Malaysian ringgit, $240,000 US, bail. 6. The film received positive reviews from critics and appeared on several Best of the Year lists. It was nominated for several awards, including 5 at the 86th Academy Awards ceremony: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor, for DiCaprio, and Best Supporting Actor, for Hill. DiCaprio won Best Actor, Musical or Comedy at the 71st Golden Globe Awards, where the film was also nominated for Best Picture, Musical or Comedy. Plot. In 1987, 25-year-old Jordan Belfort lands a job as a Wall Street stockbroker for L.F. Rothschild, employed under Mark Hanna. He is quickly enticed by the drug-fueled stockbroker culture and Hanna's belief that a broker's only goal is to make money for himself. Jordan loses his job following Black Monday, the largest one-day stock market drop in history after the Wall Street crash of 1929, and takes a job at Investors Center, a boiler room brokerage firm on Long Island that specializes in pink sheet penny stocks. He makes a small fortune thanks to his aggressive pitching style and high commissions. Jordan befriends his neighbor Donny Ossoff, and the two start their own boiler room-styled brokerage company. They recruit Jordan's childhood friends Robbie Feinberg, Alden Kupferberg, Nikki Koskoff, Chester Ming, and Toby Welch, as well as local drug pusher Brad Bonnick, all of whom Jordan trains in the art of the hard sell, and set up the company in an abandoned auto repair shop. Jordan's tactics and salesmanship largely contribute to the success of his pump and dump scheme, in which misleading, positive statements inflate a stock's price so it can be sold at an artificially high price. When the scheme's perpetrators sell their overvalued securities, the price plummets, and those who were conned into buying at the inflated price are left with stock that is suddenly worth much less than they paid for it. To cloak this, Jordan gives the firm the respectable-sounding name of Stratton Oakmont in 1989. Soon after, the company becomes immensely successful, moving out of the auto repair shop into a bigger office. An expose in Forbes which dubs Jordan the Wolf of Wall Street, a sort of twisted Robin Hood who takes from the rich and gives to himself and his merry band of brokers, initially enrages Balfour until it causes hundreds of ambitious young financiers to flock to the company, thus causing them to move into even bigger offices. As all this is happening, Jordan becomes immensely successful, and slides into a decadent lifestyle of prostitutes and drugs. He has an affair with lingerie designer Naomi LaPaglia. When his wife Teresa finds out about this, Jordan divorces her and marries Naomi in 1991. Meanwhile, the SEC and the FBI begin investigating Stratton Oakmont. In 1993, Jordan illegally makes $22 million in 3 hours after securing the IPO of Steve Madden, Limited, founded by Donnie's childhood friend and women's shoes designer Steve Madden, bringing him and his firm further FBI attention. Jordan tries to bribe Agent Denham but fails, prompting him to seek a safe place for the money. He opens a Swiss bank account with corrupt banker Jean-Jacques Sorel in the name of Naomi's Aunt Emma, a British citizen who is outside the immediate reach of American authorities. He uses Brad's Swiss-Slovenian wife Chantala and her family, who have European passports, to smuggle the cash into Switzerland. Donnie and Brad get into a heated argument in public during a money exchange, resulting in Brad's arrest as Donnie escapes. Donnie informs Jordan that he has come upon some lemon 714 quaaludes, which the latter refers to as the Holy Grail of drugs. The two take the pills at Balfour's home, but they have no effect. They assume that they have expired, and wind up taking the rest of their supply. Jordan's private investigator Bo Dietl calls him and tells him he needs to talk to him on a payphone. Jordan drives to a local country club and calls Bo, who informs him that the FBI is wiretapping his phones. While talking with Bo, the quaaludes kick in, and Jordan becomes extremely inebriated, struggling to get home in his Lamborghini Countach. When he gets home, he finds Donnie talking on the phone, and nearly strangles him with the phone cord. Donnie chokes on some meat. Jordan ingests a large amount of cocaine and gives him the Heimlich maneuver. The next day, the police arrive and inform Jordan that his car has been trashed. Fearing for his son, Jordan's father Max advises him to leave Stratton Oakmont and lie low while Jordan's lawyer negotiates a deal to keep him out of prison. In the midst of his farewell speech, Jordan cannot bear to quit and talks himself into staying, to the immense support of his friends and employees, but to the anger of his father. In 1996, Jordan, Donnie, and their wives are on a yacht trip to Italy, when they learn that Emma has died of a heart attack. Fearing for the money he left under her name in his Swiss account, Jordan announces that they will chart a course to Switzerland to forge her name on a document and save the account before going to London for the funeral. To bypass the border patrols, he orders his yacht captain Ted to sail to Monaco, but their ship capsizes in a storm. After their rescue, the plane sent to take them to Geneva is destroyed when a seagull flies into the engine. Jordan takes this as a sign from God to address his worsening drug addiction and attempts to sober up. In 1998, Sorel and Koskov are arrested for an unrelated crime, the former informing the FBI about Jordan as part of a plea bargain. Since the evidence against him is overwhelming, Jordan agrees to gather evidence from the rest of his colleagues in exchange for leniency. After having sex for the last time, Naomi tells Jordan that she is divorcing him, and wants full custody of their daughter and infant son. In a cocaine-fueled rage, Jordan punches Naomi and tries to drive away with their daughter, but crashes his car in the driveway. Later, Jordan wears a wire to work and slips a note to Donnie, warning his partner. However, the note is shortly found by the FBI, who arrest Jordan, before they raid and shut down Stratton Oakmont. Despite breaching his deal, Jordan receives a reduced sentence of 36 months in a minimum security prison for his testimony, and is released in 2000 after serving 22 months. After his release, Jordan makes a living hosting seminars on sales techniques, using the same test he used with his founding partners at his firm. Cast: Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort. Jonah Hill as Donny Azoff. Margot Robbie as Naomi LaPaglia. Matthew McConaughey as Mark Hanna. Kyle Chandler as FBI agent Patrick Denham. Rob Reiner as Max Belfort. John Bernthal as Brad Bodnick. Jon Favreau as Manny Riskin. Jean Dujardin as Jean-Jacques Sorel. Joanna Lumley as Aunt Emma. Kristen Milioti as Teresa Petrillo. Christine Ebersole as Leah Belfort. Shea Wiggum as Captain Ted Beecham. Katarina Ka as Chant Alet. PJ Byrne as Nikki Koskoff, Rugrat. Kenneth Choi as Chester Ming. Brian Saka as Robbie Feinberg, Pinhead. Henry Zebrowski as Alden Kupferberg, Sea Otter. Ethan Suplee as Toby Welch. Sandra Nelson as Aliyah Farran, Forbes reporter. Aya Cash as Janet. In addition, cameos and smaller roles include Bo Dietl as himself, the real Jordan Belfort as the Auckland Straight Line host at the end of the film, Stephanie Kurtzuba as Kimmy Belzer, Thomas Middleditch as a Stratton broker whose goldfish is eaten by Donnie for slacking off. Jake Hoffman as Steve Madden, Fran Lebowitz as the honorary sick Samantha Stogel, Edward Hairmon as the voiceover in the Stratton Oakmont commercial at the beginning of the film, and an uncredited Spike Jonze as Dwayne, the head of the Long Island brokerage firm who introduces Belfort to the world of penny stocks. 7. Production. Development. Martin Scorsese, the director of the film, in 2010. In 2007, DiCaprio and Warner Brothers won a bidding war for the rights to Belfort's memoir The Wolf of Wall Street, with Belfort making $1 million off the deal. 8-9 Having worked on the film's script, Scorsese was considered to direct the film but abandoned the project to work on Shutter Island, 2010.